What's going on YouTube? How are you doing? It's the TKO Show back with an update. It's been a couple of weeks, and in our last video, I was making some grandiose declarations, as my husband likes to say, that we're going to take keys in July. It is August, and no, we don't have any keys yet. With construction, there's always something going on, some delays here and there. But we just wanted to pop in and check in and just kind of provide like just a little bit of update what's going on. And then also to just recap how it's been going, because we do believe in the next couple of weeks we should be taking those keys. Finally, fingers crossed that nothing else throws a monkey wrench in our show. In our progress. There has been progress. There was a little bit of a delay, some halt and some movement. Basically, it was electrical.
Yeah.
Electrical kind of held us up for a little bit. BGE, back order stuff or whatever. But yeah, there was like nothing done for almost a month, like 4 weeks of nothingness.
Ouch.
That hurt a lot. But they are back on track, and things are moving again. So for today, what we want to do is go through our just a timeline real quick, just take a little trip down memory lane real quick. Just go through what the process was, a brief overview of what the process was, just to put it in the timeline format, and then hopefully share a little fun time-lapse video with you. You guys know we have a camera at our site, so we've been, kind of monitoring the progress. So did a little time-lapse feature.
Very important. Well, important.
Yeah, it's fun to just kind of watch it, just kind of unfold and blossom. So we'll share that with you at the end of this timeline recap, time-lapse video at the end of that. And then we probably will post a second video pretty soon. I want to say the next video will be our empty house tour, but I'll say that this other video that we're going to post is part 2 to this one, because we did have a viewer who posted a question. Who was asking about the process, what specifically lot development. And that's a lot of what's going on right now. Lot development, finishing off the lot, things required to make your lot buildable and honor whatever was promised in your permits and stuff like that. So that'll be in a video like right after this one. So 2 videos within this next couple of days. I don't want to make any promises and say they're going to really release at the same exact time, but within very short turnaround. But our next official video will be our empty house tour. So timeline, we're going to go back to February 2021. We put our house on the market? No, March 2021. We put our house on the market. February? Yeah, it was February. February, we put our house on the market. It sold in 72 hours. Our townhouse sold in 72 hours. We accepted an offer in 72 hours.
Of the deadline. We had a deadline.
We set a deadline. They had 3 days of showing. Accepted an offer. Officially closed on that sale in April 2021. We had already been looking at Caruso Homes for our new home build. We love the model. We had seen it the year before. My cousin also actually had built a Kingsport, and we love the house, so we had checked it out. And the base price of the house was a different base price. It was one base price at that time. Mind you, my cousin bought his townhouse almost $100K less than what it was when we saw it in April. And then by the time we were looking for land, looking for a lot, as you know, we're building on our lot. We bought 3 acres. And so we were trying to find land.
Wait, hold up. 3.5.
3.5 acres.
All right, 3.5.
I say 3.5 acres. My question is he going to let me get a goat? I want a goat. Continue to follow the channel. We'll see how things unfold on the lot. But we were looking for a lot, and we talked briefly before about doing community versus buying your own property. And buying our own property kind of fell in line with more so what we wanted to be able to do and the freedom that we wanted to be able to have with building our lot and that type of thing. It has some benefits, some perks and benefits to lot versus community. So we did that. We were looking for a lot. We found our lot in August. And so if you want to say there are two ways to go about it with lots. You can either, sign your lot or sign your contract with Caruso, your builder, and do your lot at one time, or you can just purchase your lot flat out and then do a contract with Caruso. We did ours in a bundle package. We made an offer in, I want to say August of 2021, and at the same time, when our offer was accepted, we signed our contract with Caruso. So that was August of 2022.
So that's not technically a bundle package because we purchased a lot ourselves, which is because we already established a relationship with the builder. We introduced them into the process, which is what you want to do. But there is a bundle package that you can do with the builder, and I personally won't recommend that you do that because I may be wrong because I haven't been through that process. I believe there may be a little markup, but basically what it is, you go to a builder, they already have realtors that they have relationships with, and they'll give you a price for the lot and the base price of the house, and then you can add the options or whatever. I just feel like that may not be. They're not. There's going to be overhead with that, right? Because they're contacting the realtor. They're doing things on your behalf rather than you doing it yourself. Go ahead.
And then even in those, you can usually still find. Sometimes they'll have like it double listed because even our lot was listed with a builder, and it had a separate listing for just the land sale. So if you do find that, I would probably double check and see is the land listed separately. Like you said, they could probably tag on their little finder's fee for you, right? On there. So we signed our contract with Caruso and put an offer that was accepted in August 2022. When you buy land, then you can enter and it's highly advised to do a feasibility study. So there's a feasibility period, and usually I think standards is probably about 30 or 60 days
before you buy land. So once you put in the offer, your offer is accepted. Basically, you put in there that you want to do a feasibility study. So it's based on the feasibility study. And so if you do your feasibility study and that lot for whatever reason does not work for your home, you can get out of the contract. Go ahead, Simon.
Okay. Yep. So that feasibility study is basically you hire an engineer who will check, is this land feasible to do what I want to do on it? I want to build this house. I want these amenities on my property. Is this land able to accommodate all of that? And are there any things that could hinder that process? Are there any things that raise a red flag or, would make it impossible for you to do what you want to do or have limitations? So the engineers that you hired would conduct that study. Again, ours was about 60 days. There have been people known to do longer feasibility periods and things like that. By the time the engineer that we had finished everything, it was probably, about October or so. And what he was doing is, is checking, hey, does this house fit on this lot? Will it be a walkout versus the stairs coming from the basement areaway, I guess it's called. Is there approved septic in place? But I think we already knew that with our when we bought the property.
I think one of the most important things is they also site the house, right? So they angle the house where it's supposed to be, and there's some flexibility with that. You can request how you want it to be, but based on their expertise, they'll advise you.
And this is all preliminary. They're not going to go into a whole bunch of details during the feasibility study. They're just, can it be done? Is basically what you want to know. Later on in the process, we'll talk more about engineers. So we accepted our feasibility study. We said, yes, we want to move forward. So we went ahead with closing on our construction to permanent loan where it's one bundled thing where we get the lot and the financing for Caruso. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's a one-time close, so it incorporates the lot and also the estimated cost of building the home, which includes the lot finishing estimate. Unfortunately, that is an estimate, so again, it could be higher, it could be slower, it could be lower, but you're closing on a lot at that point. And so if it gets a little higher, you have to pay, you have to come out of pocket or refinance or get a loan or whatever, but you're closing early in the process. Is what that means. It's called a one-time close. There is a two-time close where you close on maybe the lot earlier and then close on the home. But if the interest rate, kind of gets a little higher, then you're paying more for the cost of your home. So that has its disadvantages as well. But go ahead, babe.
So now, in our case, it worked for our advantage. When we closed in November 2021, rates were great and pristine. If we had to redo that today, rates would, we like our rate that we got. So we lucked out with that one. So we closed in November, and then we could make a decision. We could have went with the same engineer that did the feasibility study, but we ended up going with a different engineer, a different engineering firm to do our the actual engineering for our house. So, or for our lot rather. So, an engineer again with that lot finishing or lot development. Engineers will now do all the nitty gritty stuff with, okay, we want to put this house here. These are the things that we need to do to this property, to this lot, to the land to get that house there, built there. They have to look at stormwater management. They have to look at, site surveys, boundary surveys, and all those type of things. And we will, go deep into that with our lot finishing video, lot development to, address our viewers' question there. So engineering, we approached this engineer, came recommended, had great Google reviews. That was before Thanksgiving. We knew not a whole lot would happen before Thanksgiving because we were heading into the holidays, but we were hopeful. Holidays went. So did MLK. I think it was around MLK where we were just like, okay, what's happening? Nothing's happening. But we were warned early in the process that, hey, there's going to be a period of time where it seems like nothing's going on. Your engineer, the engineering part, it just takes a minute.
Maybe nothing was going on.
Unfortunately, absolutely like nothing was going on. Our project hadn't even been assigned to anybody yet. Yeah. We were so frustrated. So that didn't even happen until like end of January. And then into February is when we finally made contact with somebody who's like, oh, yes, no, I'm the person who's in charge of your project. We're like, where the heck have you been? So months wasted, right? So once they got out there doing the topography surveys and boundary surveys and stuff like that, it came up that we would need like a community meeting to disturb that steep slope that now is stabilized by the Great Wall of China that we've referenced in previous videos.
So what it is so first things first, the boundary survey is just a survey that lets you know the boundary of your lot. So
property corners. Your property corners. Yep.
Right. And so and the topo is a topography. It shows the gradation of your lot. So it shows how
hilly or flat.
Is it flat? Is it right? There's a slope, right? And so, and if it slopes, how steep it is at, and that's what the topo is. And so they have to do all of that. That's kind of like the baseline.
So they're doing all of this work, and they're sending out people to survey the land and all that. That took us to found out we need a modification. Had to have this community meeting. All of this has to be done even before a single permit is submitted.
And so for us, and again, we may go into this in the other video, but just want to touch on it real quick. If you have a lot, right, that's flat, so developing a lot is expensive. You're gonna spend a lot of money regardless, right? And it depends on what kind of lot you get, right? And so that determines how much you spend, how much more you're gonna spend. but it's just a lot. You're gonna be shocked. It's gonna be around circa like $100,000, around
Yep.
$100,000.
And Caruso, they have estimates for which county has. There's some standard, but it obviously usually will probably be more than what they have for our county. I think it was listed at 150K for lot development. Um,
Assuming that you don't have to do a lot, but
assuming
then
that you don't have to do a lot.
if you
That's
have
just
a,
like basic stuff with impact fees and what they know the cost of permitting is, what they know the cost, basic stuff. But the lot finishing estimate will still be custom to what's going on your lot once they actually get on the property, take a look at it, and see what needs to be done. So that took us to, where are we at? Community meeting in June. And the community meeting was to let our neighboring properties know what was going on. We were going to be building. Obviously, if you're building, there are things that happen with rain and water runoff, and just letting them know that, hey, we're going to be building. Our engineers are the ones who kind of facilitated that meeting over Zoom, and only I think the neighboring property had a concern that he is subject to some flooding because he's set lower in between the lot that's on the other side of him and us. But the engineers, reassured him that I guess there's like a ravine in between our properties or something like that. But the stormwater management plan that they've developed, he shouldn't have any issues. So good engineering, it's very, very important. They do a lot. So that time that we thought nothing was going on, there was nothing going on. But then even after that, months, weeks and weeks of waiting, there's just a lot of calculations and stuff like that. Shout out to engineers. Y'all better than me. Y'all are better than me. So after the community meeting, luckily there were no negative comments, no concerns from the neighbors. If there are concerns, then you have to address the concerns, and that kind of, adds some time. So our community meeting happened in June of 2022. Since no comments were made, we were able to move forward and finally get permits submitted. We started submitting permits in July of 2022. So long timeline.
so I think so if you find yourself in that process, if you have to do a community meeting and ask for a code modification to develop your lot, it adds about 2 months at a minimum to the process.
So doing that modification pretty much has added about like 2 months to our timeline. So again, permits finally got submitted in July of 2022. So again, closed November 2021 all the way to July. We are just now submitting permits. So permits don't come without revisions. Most times you hopefully dot all your I's and cross all your T's, but there's usually a revision required. So our septic permit for septic, or the plans for the septic, had to be accepted and approved first, and then before the grading permit could be approved. And then once the grading permit gets approved, then we could get a building permit. And so I think we got all of our permits after revisions and calling the county office and making friendly with folks over email. I think all of them got into, they felt like friends by the time we were done with them. We got everything done about mid-October of 2022, and we were able to get our pre-construction meeting scheduled, and we had that on October 31st, Halloween 2022. So from November of 2021, a whole year before we finally had our pre-construction meeting. There's timeline for you. That's not that great, not at all. Granted, there are things that you can do and hopefully learn from some mistakes, and we'll talk about that a little bit in our LFE, where if you're looking for land and things like that and you want to go this route, there's some tips to avoid, or things that would put you in a better position with getting things done. Because I can't necessarily say that it was, hold up from COVID or anything like that. So lessons to be learned. So not to discourage anyone, I think if we had to do this process again, I don't think we would, well, maybe I would shy away from it, but I don't think he would necessarily shy away from doing it this route again. But lots of lessons have been learned, and how to make sure that you're not hitting roadblocks along the way. So pre-construction meeting happened, and then, of course, like he mentioned before, sometimes things will come up with your lot development that will either raise the price beyond what you had already contracted because it was just an estimate. So we ran into a little bit of that, which kind of delayed us further from actually getting some movement. But we wanted things to get rolling, so even part of lot finishing is like tree removal, right? We went ahead and said, look, we're going to do that ourselves. And we took that into our own hands. And so we did that January of 2023 January this year.
Yeah, they weren't going to move, and we felt like, and they were claiming that they had to do some things that required us to pay them to start. And so
because the thing is that when we closed on our loan, they paid for November 2021. They paid for the lot, and then we had already paid Caruso a deposit when we signed our contract, and then also with that close, the bank also paid Caruso money to get started on certain things. So they got paid their first draw. They call them draws. They got paid their first draws, and I was just like, y'all can get started. And they're like, no, we need to know how y'all going to cover this deficit because all this extra stuff needs to be done. And it was far out of what their estimate was. You would think that an estimate is within range. This thing was that estimate was not cool. But so it was either we had two options: we figure out how to pay for it ourselves with cash, or we had to refinance. And by then the rates were no bueno. We're just like, nope, we want to keep our 2.5% interest rate that we got. We like it. All right, we're not trying to mess with y'all $7.99 or $6.99 folks buying houses at that time. So we had to bite the bullet, and we took matters into our own hand. Like, look, we're clear our own trees. If y'all at least we don't want to lose time. So we did that. We ended up sorting them out and settling with like a payment plan, or paying whatever they needed to get things rolling. And so I think they officially broke ground, or at least started on the retaining walls and things like that to break ground end of February, early March. And that's when we started posting with you guys to keep you guys updated on what was going on. And so we hope that you have enjoyed what's been going on so far, and enjoy this time-lapse video of what happened during that end of February, early March up until now. And we'll see you in the next one shortly for more details of lot finishing, estimates, lot development, and all of the joys and expenses of that process. And that's what they're actually doing now. So you'll see some videos of, and that's like your propane well and stuff like that. So you'll see some videos of that coming up next. Thanks again for watching. As always, please comment, like, subscribe. If there are any questions that you guys have about anything, be sure to post them in the comments, and we'll try to address them in a video like we're going to do on the next one. All right?
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Stay blessed.
Peace out.